you a student, mentor, or parent that loves robotics? Then you're in the right place. Up-to-date info on all things robotics. This is the Robozone Podcast with your host, Pete Ekman. The Robozone Podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world.
Hello and welcome to the 18th episode of the Robozone Podcast. This podcast is for Tuesday, May 23rd. In this podcast, we get down to the nitty and gritty on how to fund a brand new F.I.R.S.T team. So I hope you enjoyed this, and let's get to the episode. Tonight is episode 18 of the Robozone Podcast, and with me tonight I have Andrew Spees from Trucktown Thunder. How are you, Andrew?
Good. How's it going, Pete?
Good. Now, we've had you on many times. I think you're like a five-timer. That's an old Saturday Night Live reference for those older folks that are listening. Five-time. I'm not buying you a coat, but you know that you're a five-timer. So
as long as you got more cowbell, we're good.
I love cowbell. I'll get one for the next episode.
All right.
So tonight's subject we wanted to talk about. This is the second episode in the series covering starting a new F.I.R.S.T team or any team of that nature, because these are common subjects you need to do with any robotics team. But we want to talk about funding, so how to raise funds and that type, and that's why I'm naming this episode "Show Me the Money" or "Money," however people want to think about that. That's another 90s reference for people. So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about how you got the funding you needed for Trucktown Thunder.
Well, Trucktown Thunder is it's one of the original General Motors teams. We were originally located in General Motors in the structural labs. So for many years, Trucktown Thunder was funded solely by GM. So as things got older and more teams started forming, GM started to lower the funding per team, encouraging teams to diversify their funding. So we went from having like 2 sponsors to we had over 100 people give us money last year or partner with us last year. So we spent a lot of time and effort into analyzing how to raise funds, how to get funds, what fundraisers are, and how to do them well. We've also spent time on how to approach people, and we've actually been highlighted in the F.I.R.S.T fundraising toolkit that you can find on the F.I.R.S.T website on some of our efforts that we've done with our business plan. So, I don't even know where to start.
Well, how about we start with state funding, because there are certain we live in this. We both live in the state of Michigan. Thank you, and if our Governor Snyder's listening to this, I would hope he'd listen to it, but maybe I'll send him a link so that he can listen to it. But Governor Snyder put in place a special plan to where each new team can get some certain funding, correct?
Yes, excellent. So it would be 4 years now we've gotten funding from the state of Michigan. The first year we received $3 million in state appropriations directly to F.I.R.S.T. Actually, it went directly to schools through their state allocation. And it's gone now 4 years now. They've gone down in funding, down to $2 million, and it's stayed there for all the last 3 years, which has been plenty for us to continue to grow. And if you're familiar, we were at about 220 teams when that started, and we're now up to over 450 teams within 4 years. All strictly because of the funding that was given to schools. Now, every bit of this funding does not go to F.I.R.S.T in Michigan or helping to run F.I.R.S.T at all. Every dime of it has gone to starting new teams from F.I.R.S.T Junior Lego League all the way up to F.I.R.S.T. Now, the first year it started with just F.I.R.S.T. Let me think. I think it was just F.I.R.S.T the first year. No, it was F.I.R.S.T and FTC the first year, the second year and the third year. And this last year, they expanded it all the way down to FLL Junior. So you can get funding for every single team in F.I.R.S.T now, which is really, really exciting.
I think that they pay out at different levels per the team,
right,
because, of course, Lego League is a lot cheaper to run than in a full-blown F.I.R.S.T team at the high school.
Exactly. So for instance, a rookie team who wants to start a team right now anywhere in the state can receive $7,500 from the state of Michigan through state appropriations, plus a $1,500 stipend for a coach, which has to be spent towards a coach. There's some guidelines that they have to follow. It's literally, if you've ever done any grant proposals whatsoever, it's the easiest grant you've ever applied for in your life. Literally, they have a spreadsheet for you to fill out, but it's basically they give you an example and you basically just copy it. I remember the first year it came out, I helped start 8 teams in Genesee County. And that year, I helped them fill out every one of those, and I literally was able to start 8 teams and never even visit their school. I was able to do it over the phone, talk them through that grant submission, and it wasn't hard whatsoever. It literally was like you need like the name of who your coach is going to be and one sponsor, and you have to do what's called matching funds from your school district. But matching funds are pretty easy to meet. You can meet them with, say, school facility usage. You can meet it with technology support in the building. So they call it matching funds. But if you think about what the school's giving the team, such as space, is it a coach or something that if you're within a school, they can come up with that funding that's pretty simple for those matching funds for those teams. It's really easy to fill out. I've worked with tons of schools to do it. And that, I guess, you can't beat it. Plus, F.I.R.S.T gives out another $4,000 for any rookie team that starts. So they would get $4,000 the first year and $2,000 the second year. So when you look at starting a rookie team in Michigan, you can start your season with $11,000 in your bank account to get ready to start. So now there's some ways in how that money gets paid out and that sort of thing, but you literally have a budget of $11,000 starting out, and that's without getting any funds whatsoever, and that's not counting the $1,500 teacher stipend for F.I.R.S.T.
For anyone that Andrew that wants to think about starting a team, and I'm starting one, we talked about that a little bit before we started taping. There's no reason not to. As long as you know you have the interest in your school system and you have the school on board, you should be good to go.
Exactly.
And
now those funds do trickle off over time, right? But there's not a doubt in my mind that you can go into the school, show them these awesome robots that they get to build, right? And as that money trickles up, you're going to be able to find funding in other ways without any problem.
So once that should carry us into our next subject, Andrew, and that's once the state, and for everyone that wants to know what that's called, it's called an MDE state grant. I have it up here in front of my face. I will provide some links in the description to this podcast so that they can get to anyone who wants to. The quick and dirty way is just go to F.I.R.S.T in Michigan if you live in Michigan, and all the links are there. Thanks to Gail Alpert for putting that together with the F.I.R.S.T in Michigan crew. So let's talk about what we do. Say we start a team and everything's good to go, and a couple years down the road or before a couple years down the road, we have to start thinking about fundraising, right? So let's talk about fundraising.
Well, we break down fundraising in 2 different ways. There's what we call partnerships and then what we call a fundraiser. So every sports team out there goes out and gets sponsors for your team. One thing that we do different at F.I.R.S.T, and a lot of our teams have done this, we stopped calling them sponsors and we started calling them partners. Okay? It's a strategic term, 1. 2, it's kind of the relationship that you want to have with them, because part of F.I.R.S.T is spreading the word of F.I.R.S.T. So if you bring that into your fundraising and spreading the word of F.I.R.S.T, the easiest way to do so is to go out and talk about your team, right? So the F.I.R.S.T fundraising toolkit, you have to go to the F.I.R.S.T resource on F.I.R.S.T's website. There's a ton of great videos on how to get started and planning all of that. There's example business plans. We're featured on there. Our business plan is on there. There's sample scripts on what to say to people when you walk into the business. Everything you could ever think of on how to go ask people for money. The most lucrative way you can raise a lot of money quickly is to literally walk into the place and ask. So many local businesses and organizations actually plan money, budget money every year to give back to the community. And all you're asking is for a piece of that. And then come up with creative ways to partner with them. How can you, as a team, help them? Does your team have a social media presence? Have you built a social media presence over time where you could sell a $25 Facebook ad for every $500 you get from a company, right? Celebrating your partnership with them, right, to the local area. What can you do to help out that company to maybe give back to them? Come do a demo on their family fun day. One popular one we do with Heller down in Auburn Hills is we go down and we actually do their family fun day. We let kids come drive our robot. In exchange, they partner with us $500. That's a great partnership. And it's a great experience for my kids to go hang out inside of a company for the day, right? So to me, it's creating those partnerships. Your best resources are your parents. If you can recruit 50 kids on your team, that's 50 sets of parents that you could that may have a connection and may be able to help you with that fundraising. And that's, to me, is the quickest, easiest way you can raise money. Now, it's not easy because the kids do have to practice and go out and present and talk to strangers. I highly recommend that what we tell them is always take a parent with you. You know, the parent stands in the back, but parents want to be seen but not heard in this situation.
Right.
Gotcha. So I always joke that a company may not want to hand your kid a $500 check, but if there's an adult there to hand it to, they probably will, right?
Well, yeah, and it teaches the kids the ability to start learning how about business and how to approach companies. Because once they get out of high school, they're going to be doing that, you know, in any capacity working in today's world. I mean, you have to have those social skills and take yourself out of the texting world and into the using your mouth world, you know, verbal world, to where you can actually do business.
Yeah. So to give you an example, a lot of teams say, "Oh, we don't have the businesses around us to do that." And if you're familiar with where Ortonville is, where our team is, and you are, Pete, and you guys, your team is 5 miles, 10 miles one way, right? And you guys got 2 robot teams that you fund with local partnerships. If you drive 10 miles the other direction, you're in Clarkston, probably the top fundraising team in the state, right? They raise, I think, like $40,000 off their partnerships, right? We're still able to pull off $10,000 to $15,000 in our little town of Ortonville. We're not even a city; we are a village. We're a rural place, and we're able to pull off $10,000 to $15,000 every year just by going out and asking and creating connections. So don't think just because you feel like you're in a rural area doesn't mean that there's not places out there for you to connect with. And when you connect with a company, see if they're really invested in your organization. Maybe they've got suppliers that they'll reach out to as well. That's always been helpful for us in the past too.
Right, Andrew. And on top of all this fundraising, there are teams that charge to be on the team, right? They charge a participation fee, right? Can you go into a little bit about that and how you guys approach that?
So the way we approach it's a little different. Ours isn't actually called a participation fee. Ours is an amount. Basically, it's a fundraising goal, right? It's a required fundraising goal. It's kind of tricky, right? So we say we do it a little different too. Ours is a little higher because we also offer a scholarship when you graduate. So I think we're the only team that does that. So ours is $455 as your fundraising goal for that year. 250 of that comes back to you when you graduate. So if you're on my team, I just had my banquet today. I gave out 7 $1,000 scholarships to students going for their first year of college. So I don't think many teams actually work that into their fundraising plan, but that's something that we like to do with our students. And it kind of gives them that carrot to go out there and really do a good fundraising, right?
Yeah, because without a carrot, a carrot on a stick, you don't have anything to be hungry for, right?
Exactly. So then what we do, if you take that 250 off of 455, you're at about 205, right? So you really equate ours to about a $200 fee, right? But we let you fundraise all of it, right? So we'll let you, and we'll help you. We'll give you resources. We'll do anything we can to help you with that. So, um, and the way we come up with that number is everything that's consumable by the student that year goes into that number. So, for instance, their uniform, their safety glasses, an engineering notebook, we buy them all at one, right? And we travel to a district event every year. That's covered in there. Food, meal supplies, and the banquet, right? So we have the things that are built in that's consumable by that student that year is what dictates our fee, right? Um, so then what we do is we say, okay, we've got these many businesses that we need to contact. And what I did was I literally took Google Maps. And since we're a Brandon and Holly team, I plucked out of Google Maps every business in Holly and Brandon. We distribute those 5 per student, right? And they're responsible for contacting and approaching that business for a sponsorship or for what we call a partnership. Every single one of my students has been able to raise their funds either by doing that, and we also have little fundraisers that we do throughout the year that helps to fund that, right? So on top, so that's the main focus on fundraising for our team and where we come up with that number 455. Now, there is one other requirement for being on our team is our turkey leg fundraiser, which is our big fundraiser. That's about $600 per kid. If I have 30 kids on my team, we make $20,000.
What is that again? What is it called?
We cook all of the turkey legs for Renaissance Festival.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So this is something that not a lot of teams are able to do, especially their first couple of years. But down the road, what you want to start looking for is what's that event that you can get involved in? Is there something local to you that you can be involved in and make money off of, right? The Renaissance Festival hires volunteer groups to come in and run their areas, their food areas. We cook all their turkey legs. They give us $20,000 to help fund our team. That's about 45% of our budget. So every student is required to work so many shifts at the turkey legs in order to be on the team. But that pays for all of our travel for the World Championships. Basically, it pays for us to go to World Championships.
So let's step back a sec. So this podcast, people are listening, you'd be listening to it. I'm listening to it. Kids are listening to it. There's parents that are, just getting involved in robotics. Oh my God,
cooking turkey legs. Ah.
Yeah. So give them an idea, because you guys are one of the most senior teams in the state, right?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to run a team for a year?
Well, I guess that depends on if you budget in advance to go to the World Championships, right?
Let's just take that into consideration. Say you're budgeting for the regular season, you're budgeting for all your traveling to the 2 events, you're budgeting for an overnight stay at maybe one of those events that's too far from your local, you're driving more than an hour, because we do that. Then you got
our budget. Yeah, so our budget sits about 65,000.
And some people are going to go, holy crap!
Holy crap! Yeah.
No, but they're not taking into account you build 2 robots, right? You build a count bot and a practice bot.
Yeah. We also participate in VEX in the fall for fall training.
Right. And
we do fund a scholarship program.
And a week 0 event, so you got to travel there, and there's a lot of traveling. No matter, there's gas that takes stuff, right?
Yeah, so that's probably average of the high end teams, right?
Right. They don't go out of state, because I know there's some teams that go out of state to compete, and I can only imagine what those
so now
budgets are.
Looking ahead on where Michigan is going with the World Championships local, right? This changes the whole game when it comes to funding, because $20,000 of my funding went to championship. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for the next 3 years, I can see that as
right. This is the time to get in, because you've got some years to build that base up, right? So actually this year we were able to go to 3 district events, the state championship, without any overnight stays.
You got lucky.
Because
good planning on your part.
I was looking next year, I can get to 6 events within an hour of Ortonville. right? So my cutoff point is about an hour. If it's significantly more than an hour drive, then we'll stay overnight, right? But if it's just an hour drive, that's enough for us to drive every day. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think parents need to keep in mind paying for an overnight event is not cheap because hotel
Yeah.
rooms aren't cheap, and then you can't cram too many kids into a hotel room.
Right.
And then you got boys and girls on teams, so you have to
Yep.
separate those people. So
So
it's
when we budget for a hotel for one night, you're talking $3,000 for a district event, easy.
and that's not including meals, right?
Right.
It's just lodging. So
Right. So when you're talking traveling to a state championship where you've got an extra day, that's a regional. So you got to spend it for 2 nights. So now you're up to the 3 to 4 or 5, more like $4 or $5,000 for a hotel, and that's for a cheap hotel.
right. So you
Right.
talked about the partnerships. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Partnerships, right? That's what
Yeah.
you called it. So you talked about partnerships now, and you talked a little bit about the fundraising for the Renaissance Fair, which is a brilliant idea. Kind of
Yeah. I
jealous
mean,
I didn't come
don't
up
get
with
me
that
wrong.
one.
Like, that takes some planning. That's going to take you a few years. Don't do that your first year. You're going to burn everybody out, right? Like,
Right.
um,
So what are the smaller? Say, I'm starting a team from scratch. So
yeah.
give me your honest input of what you think the
Well,
fundraising event should be for a first year team.
well, I would do that partnership drive hands down, right? Like, I actually just put a budget together for a rookie team that I was helping out. So let me see if I can pull it up real quick, so I can talk more specifically. So looking into next year, not worrying about paying for any transportation whatsoever. If you can get parents to drive, you talk to the school about letting that happen. Almost every school has paperwork on letting parents drive kids to and from events, right? So if you now I'm thinking of the cheapest way of making it work, right? And if I don't have to transport any students and I can just use parents for drivers or myself, between me and my wife, we can haul 13 kids in our two vehicles, right? Because we have lots of seats. Um, Accommodations, since World Championships is in Michigan and you've got two district events and the state championship, all with, if you don't have to travel at all, you have no money for accommodation. So that's what I'm actually budgeting for this team, right? Um, I'm looking at budgeting I'm predicting I can bring in $25,000, right? That's counting the MDE grant at 9,000, right? With the teacher stipend. The first grant of $4,000. I'm counting I estimated, because if you qualify for states and worlds, the Michigan Department of Education also puts some money aside to pay for teams who qualify.
Right. I knew that one.
So I'm predicting about $3,000. We got more than that this year. We've gotten less than that in the past. Okay. So I'm predicting $3,000 from MDE advancement. Okay. Team fees, I've brought it to, I'm going to have the kids all raise $120 a piece, right? I feel they can either pay for that if they want to, or we will help them fundraise them myself. I will go out there and take them myself if I need to, because I realize they're all rookies and a lot of people don't know what they're doing, right? I'm also assuming I can recruit 30 students, which is a very high.
So your budget's off a 30 student
Right.
team. Okay. And how many mentors is
drive
that?
Fundraisers, I think between, so a lot of times when you go out and ask an organization for $120, they'll write you a check for 500, right? That extra 380 is going to go into our account and we're going to use it on the robot. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So I'm counting on a little bit of extra we'll get from some of those companies, right? And we'll be able to pull off some fundraisers, and we should be able to bring in about $5,000 more, right? And that's a tough goal. That's going to be a working goal. You're right. So I think I can come up with about $25,000 myself personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm predicting I'm going to need to spend for 30 kids about 18,000 of it.
Okay.
That's assuming there's no travel. at all. See
So
what I mean?
what is that budget? What's the budget in that scenario? What is the budget you have available for the robot to be built with?
Robot, I'd put $4,000 for robot parts. That's
Right.
building one robot.
And that's
So,
outside of the kit of parts kit because you get
right.
that
You can
automatically
only
because you're
spend
registered.
$1,000 on your robot, right? According to F.I.R.S.T in your bill of materials. So that's where I came up with that number.
Gotcha.
So that's what I think I can do myself. Now I'm a go-getter, right? So I'm
Oh,
pretty
we all
sure
know that. We all know that, Andrew.
pretty sure I'm
Trust
going
me.
to meet that $5,000 fundraising goal. For a team that doesn't want to fundraise at all, and let's say you just charge the kids the fees, period, right? Some areas are willing to do that. At 30 teams, I'd be about $5,000 less. I'd still make it. I'd still make it with $850 left.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yes. We
So
see
it's
it.
totally doable if you ask me, and that's including buying the kids 3 T-shirts for team uniform,
Right.
buying them all 3 pairs of safety glasses,
Yep.
paying for a $900 banquet,
Yep.
buying them all an engineering notebook, right? Some money for some supplies like pens and paper and things like that you need to teach with, right? Let me see what else. Yeah, those are the main things, and then you've got your initial registration, which is $5,000. That gets you 2 district events. I even budgeted $500 to get a 3rd event. You don't need to do that. The state regional, which is the state championship, is going to cost you $4,000. Oh, I did not budget for the world championships.
Okay.
So if we did the world championships, we'd be hurting for money. We'd be just about breaking even. But that's doable. One thing, the engineers, a lot of teams do this. Once, if you make the world championships, they tell the students, they turn and look at them and they say, if you want to attend, you're going to have to pay this much money to go.
No, that's normal. That's not something I have never. I've heard of that before because my daughter was on that team and went to Worlds with that team, so I knew what that. It's another bottle drive or something like that.
Right. So
something.
the engineers and their bottle drive. I think I made over $8,000 this year on their bottle drive.
Yeah, a lot of time though. A lot of time and effort in there.
It depends. It depends on the type of community you have. Like, I'll give you an example. They have their community is really subdivision focused, right? There's a lot of subdivisions in Grand Blanc.
Oh yeah, I live in one of them.
Right?
So totally understand.
It totally makes sense for them, and it's lucrative for them there. A bottle drive would not be as lucrative in Ortonville. There's no subdivisions, right? We're driving down Oakwood Road. You know what I mean? Like, everything's 55 in Ortonville, right?
Sure, yeah.
So it would not be as lucrative. Now, what is lucrative in a rural area is metal scrapping, right? When the price of metal scrapping goes up, metal scrapping in rural areas become a little bit more lucrative. We were able to raise just by the mail. So what we did was I had a lot of guys in the team that own trucks, right? A lot of parents. I tell them all to drive the long way home. If someone sets something out by the road that's made of metal to put out to the garbage, you throw it in the back of your truck. And then you drop it off at the local recycling place, right? We had a local place.
Right.
And you just drop it off there, and I told them, just put it on our tab. We kept a tab there. It worked out great. So we did this. We made about $1,500 the first time we did it. We probably could have made more if I pushed it more.
Right. No, but it's just a different way of raising money. And I'll give you another one that I did with when the Martians and More Martians are the Martians Made Worlds, right?
Yeah.
We did a GoFundMe account because I'm an internet guy. I was like,
crowdsourcing, man.
Right. It takes literally 30 seconds. And we raised $1,000 to help pay for the bus fee to get out there.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
But it was no involvement. And yes, the GoFundMe, and thank you GoFundMe for being available to us. I mean, they do take a percentage away because they have to. They have to make money, website running, la la la. But it was another $885 we didn't have after the fees that we didn't have to do any work. We just posted it, we published it, and people that wanted to donate to it could. So
that's a great way to get your local community kind of rallying for your team, right?
Right. All those.
Last year I raised almost $4,000 last year for the Kersley team. I wasn't even on their team, right? But they knew our team had a really good following in F.I.R.S.T, right? So I used my connections to help Kersley get to Worlds.
Well, good on you for doing that. No wonder you won the Woody Flowers Award, right? Once you win that, well, even before you win that award, you have a high goal
Right,
or expectation, right?
So, I use that to my advantage to help out a team, right? Like, you use every resource available to you to try to raise funds. And you just have to really analyze your area. Now, the Scott Spots, we talked about them earlier. You got to ask them what they do for raising money. They've got this really cool. I went out there and played it. It's called Quartermania, right? They have a 501c3 that they fund their youth program with. They fund their whole youth program off this one. It's like a bingo / auction that they do. It's called Quartermania. They made the game up themselves. They do it in American Legion, right? And it's the funnest game I've ever played. And didn't cost them a dime other than to make some of the stuff they needed from it. They brought some food. The American Legion lets them do it for free because everyone's buying drinks while they're there, right? And they made, I think, $4,000 that night and one night.
Yeah, that's some serious money.
Right? So, everyone's got their one thing I would say is listen to the people that are making money, right? If a fundraiser doesn't make $1,000 in a night, you need to either figure out a way for it to make $1,000 a night or scrap it and start over. So let me give you an example. Car wash. We did a car wash on a Saturday one time. We made $400. For an all day's worth of work, $400 isn't worth doing it. So we had to make a choice. We either find a way to make that car wash more lucrative, right? If we're putting that many man hours on it, or we come up with a different fundraiser that can do that kind of money. And what we did was we looked at you ever heard these parent night outs or parent lock-in nights at the school?
No, I've never heard of one.
So we won in Ortonville, right? Ortonville, we fight over the dates because they'll only let each group have it once. So what they do is, so from 6 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock at night, you can drop your kids off at the high school. You can have 4 hours out with your wife. You leave your kids there, and Trucktown entertains your kids for 4 hours, right? We take over the gym and the pool. We have Trucktown members all over the place, right? We made $1,200 the last time we did it.
No, see, I thought it was the opposite way around. I thought you locked the parents in the school so they actually can have some sanity time away from their kids. That's immediately what I thought.
Yeah,
like, all the dads play, basketball in the gym, and all the moms are crafting or scrapbooking or something like that.
It's a really lucrative thing, and if you talk to your school into letting you have one, it's a really great thing. They'll let you advertise for it. Some parents watch for it. They charge it. We were charging, I think, $15 a kid, right? We got a ton of kids there. It was a blast. Not only are you spreading the word of F.I.R.S.T to the kids that are younger than you, because you have your robot there, right? You're getting kids excited about your robotics team in the process of making some serious money, right?
Yeah. I like that idea, but I'm actually going to run with my idea too. I'm going to say lock the parents in, and we'll run it that way.
I call those. Always look for what I call double whammies, win-wins, right?
Yes, win-win. Yes,
something you can spread the word of F.I.R.S.T and still make some money.
I call it a twofer, but whatever.
Right, a twofer. I like that.
So, and we've been going at this for a good 40 minutes now,
yeah.
Right? So, give a couple before we close out. Just give a couple hints of where people can find information for fundraising or your website or something of that nature.
FirstInMichigan.org. They're going to give you a lot of links. I think at one time they had some links as to a sample. No, they don't. But if you are looking to start a team and you contact Gail Alpert, at some point you're going to talk to Gail Alpert, right? And she has some generic budgets of people that she gives out to people to help them get started, right? She start working on it, start really analyzing the kind of funding you can do. One thing I gotta say to people is go out there and do it. I always say, I always get a lot of this. The team needs to do this. The team needs to do that. Well, when you say that, you are the team, right? When you point your finger, you got three pointing back at you, right?
That's
Anyone
right.
can go out there and do it, right? Go out there, go. The team is never going to say no to fundraising, right?
That's true. That's true.
Right? Like I stopped. I used to like kind of be like, well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I stopped saying no, right? Like you, this is a program that we're always going to have to look for fundraising. It's always going to be a part of it, and include your students. It's a great experience for them. Get them out there doing it. Go out there with them. Make it fun, right? Get out there and just do it. If the team puts together a fundraiser, participate. Make it bigger than it is because you're involved, right? So that's, I think, the best advice I can give the teams moving forward on fundraising. Don't just sit there, go out and do it. If the money's there, you just got to go find it.
All right, Andrew, I thank you so much for giving up time on a Sunday night to come on here and give some healthy advice. If people want to find you or find Trucktown Thunder, how do they find you guys?
Trucktownthunder.com. Another one is the F.I.R.S.T fundraising toolkit. If you go on the firstinspires.org, there's search bar and put in fundraising toolkit. It's probably the fastest way to find it. Boom shakalaka, it's right there. They've got 6 videos there from the Argosy Foundation that put together on how to get started and start thinking about fundraising on your team. It's a lot of fun once you start getting out there and doing it. So, trucktownthunder.com.
Thank you, Andrew, for your time once again. I greatly appreciate it. We're always going to keep you on the hook. You always provide some great advice. So good luck to Trucktown Thunder in the upcoming season and for you guys' fundraising efforts.
Awesome. Are you going to see you at Mentor Camp?
No, yes, you can mention yes, because I want to attend that. So please.
Awesome. And if you're interested in speaking, we'd love to have you.
I think I already filled out that form.
So. Awesome. Perfect. You're on the
hook. Go ahead. Tell us more about that, please.
All right. So June 24th at Kettering University. It'll be from 8 to 5. We don't have all we're working out details as we speak. But basically it's a full day. It's for mentors by mentors. It's that time of year where there's no F.I.R.S.T going on. It's like the only time of year where F.I.R.S.T is kind of shut down. So what we do is we all get together and we learn from each other on some of the best practices. We always try to find people that are willing to present and talk about what they do with their team. I highly recommend coming out. It's a great place to learn. That's how a lot of us big teams got successful is we literally steal from the best and fake the rest. Right. So
that's a t-shirt slogan right there.
come see what other teams are doing and learn. There's some great presentations already. I'm going to be one on FTC. FTC is going to have a town hall. And this is the first time it's announced, by the way. They're going to have a town hall meeting on possibly going to a district point system next year in FTC on qualifying for their FTC state championship. So they're going to have a town hall and discussing that, letting people have some say. So it'd be a good one to come out and check out. We always have some of the best. Joe Jakaitis from 862, the world champions, is going to be out. He's on our committee. I talked to him yesterday. Some great people are going to be out there. So June 24th, mark your calendar, all day and evening, because we're going to have kind of a social event afterwards. I'm hoping I got one of our committee members out pounding the pavement in Flint trying to find us a good place to hang out after. So,
and how do we find out? How do we follow the news on that?
Well, watch Trucktown Thunder's Facebook page. It'll come out over there. Let me think. I'm going to try to get it out to Gail and see if she can get an email out to everybody. It's that time of the year. I'll be honest with you. Last year, most of the people we got from Facebook, because it's just that time of year where people aren't really working in F.I.R.S.T, right? So I should say in Michigan. It's everyone's kind of taking a break and a breather. So right. Look at the Trucktown Thunder webpage. It'll definitely be out there. I'm going to see if I can get Gail to send out an email. If not, contact me at acefeast@gmail.com. Feel free to contact me too. That's another way. Kettering's going to send it out to all their contacts. We're going to try to get it spread out. So.
Yeah, and I'll mention as you feed me the information, Andrew, as things go on, I can put it on the future episodes of the podcast too.
Yep,
so
I'll do that too. We should have some things in place this week. So.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Andrew, for your time. I really look forward to going to that mentor camp and maybe presenting at it. I know I put myself on the hook for that, but I'm not a shy guy.
It really is. It really is a lot of fun. So
yeah, but thank you for your time tonight, Andrew. I greatly
No problem.
appreciate it. Again, I'd like to thank you, Andrew Spees from Trucktown Thunder, for coming on to the podcast tonight and giving us some insightful information that we need for fundraising and starting an F.R.S.T team. If you have a coach, if you have a mentor, if you have a student that would like to give us some information about starting an F.R.S.T team, please reach out to me at robozonepodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on our social media. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Please, if you get the chance, give us a review on iTunes if you're listening through iTunes. And don't forget, you can follow us and subscribe on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes. Thanks for your time. Have a great night.
The Robozone podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world. Thanks for listening to the Robozone podcast with your host, Pete Ekman. Find us online at robozonetv.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.